Hello there, and welcome to 10 advanced tips and tricks for better survival and colony stability in Rimworld. This video is dedicated to beginners and intermediate players, and I have tried my best to have something for everybody in there, and let's get started right away with number one. I want to get started with the skills that are really nice to have on your starting colonists, because it's always the same suspects. For one, bring somebody who has a passion in construction. It's really good to have somebody learning fast. A mining passionate person is optional. It's nice to have a high yield, but it's not a must-have. A cooking passionate person, though, I personally wouldn't start without, because food poisoning ain't no joke, and people with a passion learn quite fast. With plants, bring somebody who's good at it, because it's a very, very good way to earn food in any situation. Animals is also nice to have, but not as much as a necessity. I mean, you could swap plants and animals vice versa, depending on your playstyle. Crafting, you can bench that for later, because early on you won't be crafting that much, as is the same as with arts. Medical though, bring two people with a passion, because these are just really good in keeping your colony alive. Two people with a passion and a skill level of 6 or higher are really good at keeping the colony alive. Social has become more and more important the longer the game has been developed. I would recommend at least one passionate person, or two if you have ideology and nobility DLCs activated. And as it comes down to the intellectual, it's something that you can do, but you don't have to. It depends on how fast you want to research, but I've made the experience that even a non-passionate person hits intellectual 20 eventually, and there's that. Moving on to number two, good traits and bad traits. So, as you pretty much know, colonists come with different traits. Here's a very, very easy way of getting yourself a quick overview about what you want to have and what you don't want to have. Really good to have are people that move fast, work fast, and take less damage. These three traits, they come in different variations and powers. They are really, really priceless, because all of these attributes make you so much more powerful. Also, honorable mention is traits that make you less prone to, or give you just good mood, or make you less prone to losing mood, like psychopaths and cannibals. The long story short here is, obviously there are the opposites of these: slow mover, slow worker, bad morale, and these are, and quick in taking damage. These are just traits that I would personally avoid whenever I can, because moving slow is devastating in combat. Taking damage quickly downs you faster. Working slow means whatever you do, you're pretty inefficient at it, and having a low morale, you're prone to breaks too often. I really had several runs where I tried to bring through depressive colonists and such. Boy! No. Despite my best efforts, they were constantly breaking. So this is a very simple thing, and the rest of the traits, well, opinions differ, but these are, in my opinion, the strongest ones to keep an eye out on. Moving on to number three, combat. Only fight if you must, or if you are prepared to fight. Rimworld is absolutely ruthless in punishing you for with the consequences of combat. As you see here, you can simply lose tiny parts of your limbs, or entire limbs. Not rifle. Scars will bring your character pain. Sometimes a bullet gets stuck in your brain and you're just a moron for the rest of your life. There's so many weird things that can happen in combat, which boils it down to combat should be really, really taken with care in Rimworld. Good preparations can be obstacle courses with a lot of traps, for example, or attacking melee-only enemies with a good array of ranged units, or just having simply somebody who you don't worry about if they die and just put them into cannon fodder while your valuable colonists shoot the enemy down. Whatever you do, take into account that combat is rarely a trivial thing in this game. This is just what Rimworld is pretty much about. Number four, high-tech trade partners. So when you go on over the world map, you will find these Outlander Union factions. Settling next to these is very, very powerful because that gives you access to high-tech things that you can't trade with them. They have guns, they have armor, they have so many good things. And the starter faction here, if you're running with default settings, they're always eager to trade with you. So there's really, really no problem about that. And yeah, depending on how difficult or easy you want to make your game, this is where it goes to. Brings me to number 5. When you want to invest money into something, armor and guns are always a good choice. Because as you play longer in a colony, the storyteller will keep trying to kill you more and more and more. So when you use your money to get your people harder to kill, that really pays out. And one of the things that brought me to the most losses eventually was me just investing too heavily into vanity things instead of guns and armor. So yeah, if you can get a heavy suit of armor, grab it. If you have an opportunity to spend all your money into a marine armor, it's pretty much worth it most of the time. So you get the idea. Which brings me to number 6, the risks of growth. So Rimworld uses this wealth measuring meter system, and the more wealth in total your colony has, the more severe the attacks from the outside world will be. You can also configure your storytellers to get more severe attacks or not, but the baseline in this game is always that high wealth attracts high risk. So when you increase your wealth in your colony, be aware of the fact that people will come to steal stuff from you. This is also why I recommended in the previous point that armor and guns are always good investment. Because at the end of the day, the stuff that kills people is also increasing the value of your of your colony. Did you know? But in that case, it pretty much helps you out. Number 7, defenses are a must. But don't wall yourself in entirely, because that gets punished hard. As you see here, I have a colony which has a bit of a wall-in situation. This is only the intermediate solution. I'll turn that into stone eventually. Wood is a nice interim solution, at least in my opinion. And here I have an obstacle course, 2 doors, traps, barricades, and a small kill box. So this most important thing here is this is an entrance that the AI can navigate into my base. If your base is sealed airtight, the storyteller will send in airstrikes, drop pod people, and sieges more often, and those wonderful people who dig through walls. This you get way more often this way. So leave an opening and design a defense system according to that, and don't think that you can skip on it. You will need a sort of defense in one way or another. How you wire it up, it's a wonderful part. It's up to you. If you want to have an elaborate kill box or something like here, it's up to you. But yeah, you will get overrun otherwise. Number 8, ranged versus melee. So in the most cases of the game, ranged attacks are absolutely superior towards melee fighting styles until the later stages of the game. When we have access to the really high value armor things, especially marine armor and cataphract armor, your people will get wounded way less often. Also, you get access to these high-end weapons, monoswords and the like, or just a steel longsword or flat steel longsword can be equally devastating. The bottom line is, once your people are really well geared up, it is powerful to go melee, strategy-wise, but range attacks will always keep the edge in most situations, but there are enemies like high-end mechanoids, namely centipedes and other things, which are highly vulnerable to a person in a power suit and a nice warhammer attached to their hands. You get the idea. Long story short, ranged is your friend in the early and mid stages of the game, and melee becomes more and more an option in the mid and later stages of the game. But melee weapons, high-end like steel axes and whatnot, have a high damage output all over the board, but the person involved has a high likelihood also to be maimed for the rest of their lives. So your fighters in the early and mid stages, yeah, well, they might lose an arm or two. Stuff like that happens. Mind you, though, this can also happen with high-end armor. I speak from experience, but yeah, you get the idea. Number 9, your colonies should always work on the morale of your colonists, period. So have nice floorings, make art, give them nice furniture, not awful like me here, and do everything to pamper their lifestyle as good as possible. Recreational rooms, recreational tools, because breaks are vicious. Breaks can eliminate an entire colony when it comes down badly. And having a base which has high accommodations, a good standard of life, helps you out when disaster strikes and your people are wounded, pissed, and whatnot. It really helps on out. Also, for situations like these, having an emergency stack of drugs, like for example ambrosia and stuff like that, can also be extremely valuable. And last but not least, number 10, it's really hard to have too much farm food. I'm not talking about meat. Meat is only pretty cool to store if you either have pemmican or refrigeration, then you can store it too. But the farm food, the crops that you grow there, even if they aren't refrigerated, they have a very high shelf life. And most of the time you will have a proper refrigeration system anyways. And long story short, the thing is quite simple. Food can be absolutely valuable in a time of crisis. When you have a toxic fallout, when you have a cold snap, or whatever bad news might hit town, it's so valuable to have a huge food stockpile available. On the other hand, if none of these crises happen, you can still sell it away to the next bulk goods trader and be angry at yourself when a month later the toxic fallout settles in. Jokes aside, it is also a trade good that you can turn into money, and the only downside is large hauls of food need much refrigeration, and that's the only downside that I've experienced. But in my many, many hundreds of hours that I've been playing Rimworld, I never been thinking like, man, all that food sucks. It's been only the other way around. And most of the time I made some profit out of the food that I stockpiled one way or another. Alright, there's much more to say at the end of the day. This game is very deep, complex, and a wonderful time killer. And let me know what you think. Leave a like, leave a subscribe. Consider letting me know what you would like to see covered about this game here as well. I'm eager to please. And yeah, feel free to donate to the channel. Feel free to use the channel membership system if you want to spend a dime for my work. It would really mean a lot to me. Either way, I want to say thanks for watching this video up until the very end, especially you guys bearing through the advertisements of mine. I really appreciate you folks. I hope you have a great day, and see you soon.